The lighting is going to be really trash in this video because the sun keeps going in and out. I feel like I have to warn you guys all the time about the lighting, but like, you know the drill. The lighting is going to be trash. Enjoy the video. Hey, how's it going? How's life? My name is Sophia. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a recommendations video. I'm going to be doing a fantasy written by women of color recommendations video. Now, you may be wondering, sis, why a fantasy recommendation based on women of color? Like, why not any other demographic? And the reason for that is because historically speaking, the fantasy genre has been dominated by white people. Adult fantasy has been dominated by white men, and YA fantasy is mostly dominated by white women. And so I just wanted to do a diverse recommendations video focusing on adult and YA fantasy that's written by women of color. Granted, I only have one YA fantasy written by a woman of color, but I digress. You get the point. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the recommendations video. Okay, so the very first series I have to recommend for you guys, it's an underrated series in my opinion, but it is starting to get more hype, a bit more love, and that is going to be the Green Bones Saga by Fonda Lee. So that consists of Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy comes out next year, I believe. This story takes place on the island of Kekon. We are following two crime lord families. One of them is the Call family. The island of Kekon is the only place in the world that produces bioenergetic jade, which gives the wearer super abilities. You get to follow the Call family as they get into a gang war with the rival Mountain Clan, and our story goes from there. This story has everything you could possibly want in a fantasy story. It has a dope magic system, amazing world building, incredible characters, political machinations. The fight scenes are a masterpiece. Like, this is a work of art and I highly enjoyed it. My favorite aspect of the story are the characters. The characters, they're part of a gang, so you know they're horrible people. They've killed, they've murdered, they've robbed, they've done a bunch of horrible stuff, but you can't help but love and adore them regardless of that. And it also has themes, especially in the second book, it deals with themes of immigration and xenophobia. So like, if any of that interests you, I highly recommend picking this up. It is a masterpiece and I freaking love it. Oh my goodness. And like the way that Jade War ended crushed my soul, and I am hyped, I am excited, I'm also unprepared for Jade Legacy. So if any of that interests you, I highly recommend picking this up. Okay, so the next book I have to recommend for you guys is going to be a YA fantasy, and that is going to be Raybear by Jordan E. Fuego. Now in this story, you are following our main character Teddy Sai, who is raised in isolation with her mother known as the Lady. One day, her mother sends her off to join this competition to become part of the Prince's Council. But unfortunately for her, Teddy Sai is ordered to kill the prince once she gains his love and trust. And we get to follow Teddy Sai's journey as she struggles with this mission. Teddy Sai as a character has been through so much suffering and pain, and you get to feel that throughout the entirety of this story. Teddy Sai has suffered from emotional abuse, and I thought that Personally, I thought that that was explored really well in this story. We get to see Terisai struggle with her love for her mom and wanting to make her mother happy, despite the fact that she knows that she's being manipulated and misused. The found family and the characterization was really well done, really sweet, and was the best part of the story in my personal opinion. In terms of world building, I really love the amount of culture this story has. It's not just an African inspired fantasy. I could see hints and pieces of other cultures blended together so well in this story, and I absolutely loved it. This is the first in a series. I'm not sure if it's going to be a duology or a trilogy, but I'm hyped and I'm excited for it, and I highly recommend picking this one up. The next book recommendation I have is specifically for if you like romance. If you like romance heavy fantasy, then I recommend picking up Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. Now, in this story, you are following our main character, Meher, who is half Amrithi, which are the magic users within this world. Meher is forced to hide her identity. One day, Meher accidentally triggers her magic and she is taken away from her family and forced to work for the Maha, which is this all-powerful magical being. One of the reasons why I love this story so much is because of the writing style. The writing style is very purpley, very prosy, very delicious in my opinion, and it really worked well with the magic system. The magic system in this series is based off of the dreams of gods, which is unique in my opinion, and I really liked it. Because it's based off the dreams of gods, this is like a very soft, very whimsical magic system. Meher as a main character is very strong. She's very hard-headed. She doesn't take no for an answer. She's really tough. She's a tough she's a tough protagonist, and I really appreciated that about her. I also liked the discussion of colorism. While colorism isn't a major theme within the story, Meher, because she has dark skin, does have to deal with a lot of colorism, a lot of ignorance, especially because of her Amrithi side of the family. And so I really enjoyed seeing how she tackles that. R.F. Kuang freaking blurbed this. I'm just realizing this. Huh. Okay. The romance is very slow burn, very angsty. I wouldn't call this a hate to love, but more like a I don't trust you hoe to love. Amar, I think his name is like a precious being, and like the love interest isn't an asshole. So, you know, if you're tired of that trope and you want a good slow burn romance with some fantastical elements, I highly recommend picking this one up. The next series I would like to recommend to you guys is going to be an entire trilogy, and that is going to be the Poppy Trilogy by R.F. Kuang. Can you even see it? Nope. R.I.P. White Balance. All right, so the first book being the Poppy War. The Poppy War, oh, yep. As well as the Dragon Republic. Can you see that? Okay, yeah. I'm not gonna hold these up because I ain't trying to mess up my white balance. Thank you very much. In this story, you are following our main character, Rin, who is a war orphan living with the Fang family. They drug dealers, by the way. One day, Rin is given up by her foster mother into a marriage with this crusty, dusty, opium addicted dude, and Rin is just like, nah, bitch, that ain't me. I ain't about that child marriage life, thank you very much. And her and so Rin decides that in order to escape this marriage, she has to get into the most prestigious military academy known as Sinagard. She studies super hard, and surprise, surprise, she gets into this military fantasy. This is a very simplistic synopsis, but this story is so much more than that. But yeah, this is a series that I would recommend to anybody who likes grimdark fantasy, anti-heroes, historical fantasy, as well as character studies. So if any of those things sound interesting to you and you're okay with the trigger warnings, I highly recommend picking up the series. The final fantasy written by a woman of color that I have to recommend is actually going to be a graphic novel. And if you know me, you can probably guess what's going to be on this list, and that is going to be Monstrous by Sana Takeda and Majori Liu. In this story, you are following our main character, Micah Halfwolf, who has a monster living inside of her. And so we're basically following her as she tries to figure out why she has this monster living inside of her. And in the beginning of the story, she's actually sold into slavery, and our story goes from there. So trigger warning for that. I really loved this story for many reasons. One of the main reasons why I love this story so much is the artwork. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. I am obsessed with it. Our main character, Micah, is also a morally gray character. I wouldn't quite call her an anti-hero. She's not as villainous as Rin, but Micah is the type of character who does what she needs to survive regardless of whether it's moral or not. And then you have her companion Kippa, who is like this sweet precious little baby wolf that deserves all the love in the world. Like, all she wants is like for everybody to get along. I'm just like, you poor baby, you poor baby. There is a lot of exploration of war within this series as well. A lot of themes of trauma and trying to move on from trauma. In this world, there are arcanics, which are magical users, and then you have the regular schmegular humans, and then you have the women who are born with magic. Those are like the witches. And so the witches and the Federation, which is the regular schmegular humans, are at war with the arcanics. And this story does a really good job of exploring trauma through our main character, because Micah is a victim of the first war, and in this story we are on the verge of another war. And so it's interesting to see not only the trauma and the heartbreak that our characters went through, but also how they are preparing for the next one. I will say that this is a very mysterious graphic novel. There are a lot of unanswered questions. If you are the type of reader that likes to have your questions answered quickly, then I don't know if I would recommend this to you. I would recommend this series to a person who likes morally gray characters, who likes exploring themes of war and trauma. And if you like a story about women that dominate society, I highly recommend picking this one up. So those were my fantasy recommendations written by women of color. If you guys have any recommendations, feel free to leave them down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to see you soon with another video, and until then, I will see you soon. Bye.